buyers and home sellers throughout Boston, the South Shore, the South Coast, and Cape Cod. Our firm takes pride in assisting our clients in the next chapter of their lives by taking a holistic approach to their real estate endeavors. We believe that every move should be a moving experience. Every week, my co-host Melissa Wallace and I will provide you with my team's unique marketing approach to selling homes and share with you our expertise in navigating the home buying process. We value the experience of our agents at Boston Connect Real Estate so much that not only will you hear my perspective on real estate topics, occasionally you will hear the expert thoughts and opinions of our experienced agents at Boston Connect Real Estate. Be a part of our roundtable. If you have any questions during the show, please call 781-837-4900. We love to talk real estate. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and wherever you like to listen to podcasts at Talk Real Estate Roundtable. If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me and my team to discuss your real estate needs, you can connect with me at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate.
And hello to all our South Shore neighbors. You are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. My name is Melissa Wallace, and I am joined live and in studio by Sue Bollinger.
Good morning.
Good morning. Sue, you are a full-time realtor here at Boston Connect Real Estate, and you've joined me several times now on the show. I feel like you're just like my little sidekick now. I'll be honest. I was gonna just replay a show because Sharon is away on a much-deserved vacation.
Definitely deserves it. Yes.
I was like, I haven't been in the office the past couple days. We just had Christmas. I was like, I'm just gonna replay a show, and then yesterday I was like, you know what? Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just continue the discussion from last week. And so you were the first person I texted.
Oh, thank you.
I said, I'm going to see if Sue. And honestly, if you said no, I would have just been like, all right, I'm replaying a show. I tried.
Exactly.
But here we are.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Melissa, I cannot hear Susan on the microphone. She sounds soft in the distance. I don't know what's going on.
Is this better if I come closer to the microphone?
That's much better.
Oh,
Thank you.
Much better, Sue.
All right.
All better to hear you with, my dear. Thank you.
Now everybody can hear you. And I wasn't talking to myself. I promise, everybody. I do talk to myself.
Not this time.
Not this time. Hi, Tim. Merry Christmas.
Hi. Merry Christmas. Yes.
Merry
Happy
late
2025 coming up.
And almost Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Almost Happy New Year.
That's what I meant. I'm married 2025. Yeah.
Yeah. How was your Christmas, everyone?
It was
good?
really nice.
Yeah?
Oh, good.
A little bit of snow.
Yeah, but hey, it's New England. We should have a little bit of a white Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm surprised anybody even knows what day of the week it is.
I don't.
I almost didn't. I'm like, oh, is it Saturday already?
Yeah, every day I thought it was Sunday. I don't know why. It's just every day this week I thought it was Sunday.
Yeah. When you get the holiday in the middle of the week, it throws everything off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all confused.
Yeah, because I really was only in the office on Monday. Tuesday, I was going to do a half day, and Sharon was like, you know what, just take the day. If anybody needs you, they can get you next week.
Absolutely.
So every single day, I thought it was Sunday. I had the day off.
Do I go back to work tomorrow? No, not yet. Yeah. Not yet. Yeah.
And but I did have to remember, okay, when it gets a little bit closer to the end of the week, I have to do something about the radio show.
Yes.
Something needs to be done. I either need to let Rob know we're replaying a show, or I have to actually plan one. So here we are. I planned one. Thanks to Sue.
Yep, I'm here.
There you go.
Let's see.
So, Sue, you have joined us, obviously, quite a few times now. But in case somebody hasn't caught one of your episodes, why don't you reintroduce yourselves to all of our listeners?
Absolutely. My name is Sue Bollinger, or Bollinger. You can pronounce it either way.
Yeah.
I've been a full-time realtor for over 20 years, and I work here at Boston Connect full-time. And have been with Boston Connect almost since the beginning, like probably 1 year in.
Yeah.
So if anybody needs to reach me, you're more than welcome to call me at 508-317-5729. I would love to help you.
Yeah. And we'll give that information out at the end as well. Yes. But yeah, you've been here, probably since the first year.
Yes.
So Sharon opened the office in 2010.
Yes.
In a declining market, and here we are.
Yep, and I moved over in a declining market.
Yeah, and here we are, 14 years later?
Yes.
How awesome.
Yes. And her daughters, by the way, babysat my kids back in the day too.
Oh my gosh.
Back when Casey was a teenager, and now she's, just all grown up and married and
well,
it's been a long time.
Speaking of losing track of time, I do have a couple family members that I really don't see throughout the year, and so I really only see them around the holidays or Christmas time, and I was like dumbfounded the other day when I was like, wait, how old are you? I just remember you being born and now you're in your 20s.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what? How? I was just, oh, you're in college now? What?
I know. Well, you know what? Honestly, when you started here, you were pretty young.
I was.
And now it's like,
yeah.
We can't say that you're the youngin' of the office
I was in
anymore.
my 20s. Yeah, I was in my 20s and now I'm in my 30s.
Yeah. Now we have people much younger.
Now we do have somebody who's much younger than me, so I'm not the young one anymore.
We do have a 22-year-old agent here at the office, so.
Yeah, who you were mentoring.
Yes.
You were one of the mentors when we had the mentoring program, and Connor is his name.
Yes.
He is a full-time realtor here at Boston Connect Real Estate as well, and he wanted to get into the business, and so you said, hey, if I take this one under my wing, can he come? And we said, sure.
Yes.
He's all yours.
He's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
Just watch him go in a couple of years. He's a hard worker. So.
And we've had him, you don't really, when it comes to real estate, you don't really learn a lot until you're thrown to the fire. So I know Sharon and I have sort of given him a couple tasks to do for the team while Mary's on maternity leave, and he's done great.
Yes, he's great.
Yeah, he's done great.
Willing to jump in.
Yeah, it's awesome. We do compensate him for his time, because that's how we roll. But yeah, no, he's learning and he's doing great. He had his first closing.
Yep.
He's done a rental. Yep. So, and not a lot of people like to do rentals. So good for him.
He worked really hard for that rental too.
Yeah, good,
so
good.
Learned a lot.
Good. All right. So when I decided not to replay a show yesterday and ask you to do it, I just sort of thought, maybe we could just continue the conversation that Sharon and I started last week. So I called the show Unpacking Misconceptions About Buying a House. I thought that was kind of punny.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we sort of went off the rails last week, as we usually do. And we mainly, once we got back on the rails, talked about new construction and buyers in new construction. And then we got a caller, and he had some really great questions and key points for us. And we sort of just went off with that. So we never really got to the resales. And I think that, you work with a lot of buyers, right?
Yeah,
and
I do.
I feel like sometimes most years your business is 50-50, with buyers and sellers.
Definitely 50-50.
What about this year? Is it more buyer heavy or listing?
It's definitely
50-50?
Yeah,
okay.
I had a lot of listings this year. I think it was actually listing heavy this year.
Oh, really? Oh, listing heavy.
Yeah. But most years it's 50-50, I would say. But I love working. It's actually my passion to work with buyers.
And why is that?
It's just you get to know buyers along the way in a deeper way.
Mm-hmm.
And I love getting to know people. So when you're working with a buyer, it's the biggest purchase anyone ever makes, right? So they go and they look at bunch of houses, and you're with them every step of the way, and you get to know what their likes and dislikes are, and then you get in conversations, and by the end they become like family. And so you still get that when you're selling a house, but when you're helping someone buy a house, there's sort of this extra element because you know them personally.
Yeah.
So you get to know the family. And,
you start to know what they do like and what they don't like, which you should know. But there's been a couple buyers that I've shown properties to in the past couple months that I'm like, they really are like, oh, well, we don't know what we do like. And we're like, all right, well, let's figure it out.
Right.
We'll figure it out together.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I feel like you come in contact with a lot more personalities when you're dealing with buyers.
Sometimes that's a bad thing, but most of the time it's a good thing.
Sometimes that's a bad thing.
I actually have a closing on Monday, and this family, I've been working with, I worked with this other couple, like I helped them buy their house originally, and then I kept in touch, and then, they went and bought another house that they bought their house during the peak time when it was really difficult to find.
Yeah.
You have the millions of bids on everything.
Yeah.
And then they found something, and now I'm working with her sister and her husband to find a summer home. So
wow.
they finally found it, and we're closing on Monday. So it's like you end up with these connections with people, and they become your friends, and you have these conversations. It's really a really cool process. So that's why I love buyers. So.
Kristen Howlett, who is also a full-time realtor at Boston Connect Real Estate, is watching us, so we're waving. Oh,
hi,
we're
Kristen.
live on Facebook too, everybody. So,
and by the way, Kristen, thank you for the cookies.
Oh yeah, thank you for the cookies. How generous!
Very generous.
We all adopted a family from my brother's keeper for Christmas, and Kristen organized that for everybody, and she got us some cookies and a little gift card for all of it. But you know what? You're just so generous.
She's a very generous
She
person.
is very generous. But Kristen's watching us on Facebook, and she works with a lot of buyers too. And her and I had this conversation the other day, and she's like, "You should really work with buyers." And I was like, "I don't know. I really love sellers.
Yeah,
I really love sellers."
Yeah.
But yeah, no, she works with a lot of buyers too. So
I bet Kristen's I bet she feels
she
the
just
same
falls
way
in love with everybody.
But that's the thing.
Yeah,
exactly.
How can you fall in love with so many people?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but she truly and every single couple is the best couple she's ever worked with. Every single house is the cutest house she's ever seen.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like you're the same way too.
Yeah.
But again, we are live on Facebook. So be sure to follow Boston Connect Real Estate, the McNamara Horton Group, Sharon Costa McNamara. We're live on Instagram as well. Hello, I'm waving. So you can join on the discussion on any of those, YouTube as well. LinkedIn, so you can follow us on there. But if you are feeling adventurous today, you can call or text the studio 781-837-4900, and you can join in on the discussion. Keep us in line.
Yes. Give us a call.
Ask any questions. If you're a buyer out there, tell us about your experience, or if you're looking for a buyer's agent or buyer representation. Here's Sue. Woohoo!
Hello. Would love to help you.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into it. So I have a list of a couple things that I came up with last week that we didn't get to. So let's sort of jump right into it. So common misconceptions and reality check is what I'm calling this segment.
Okay.
So here's a common misconception. You need 20% down to buy a house.
It's so funny that this is the first one, because I had a call last week before Christmas. And it was somebody who was looking to rent something.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, I just, he's like, my credit's okay. I just, I don't have enough money to put down. And I said, well, you only need, if you're spending first, last, and security anyways, you could just buy something if your credit's good. And he's like, really? Because everybody tells me I need like $100,000 to put down in a house. I'm like, absolutely not.
No.
You won't. It depends on the program. If you're a veteran, you don't even need anything.
Mm-hmm.
There's like specific programs for veterans where you can get, a VA loan with 100% financing and fantastic rates. And, I honestly, I don't see why, you don't have to put the money down.
Yeah.
You can, if there's certain programs where you might get a better rate if you put down 20%, but if you're a first-time buyer and you don't have the money, there's so many programs out there for you.
I think also some people are thinking about the competition between buyers as well. So, it is a factor when you are a seller and you're looking at all of the different offers that have come across, and you're looking at how much people are putting down. And of course, it's enticing when someone puts, more than 5% down,
Sure.
or, they're putting 20% down or even more than that. But it's not always about that. There's so many other terms that go into an offer.
Absolutely.
They could have a lower purchase price. They could have a home inspection. One could not have a home inspection. One might have a home sale contingency, and there's just so many different factors that can go into the offer where it's not just about how much money you're putting down. And sometimes if they do have a home sale contingency and, they might not have any liquid cash, so they might have a lower deposit down, but once they sell their home, they have something.
Right.
But during that time period of purchasing a house, they might not have anything liquid.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's all about explaining that as well.
Absolutely. And in a market like this, I'm finding that, even on my listings or whatever, I'm not getting 20 offers anymore. It's like 1 or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Sometimes like 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not unless it's dramatically underpriced or just like a fantastic deal, the realtor does it sort of on purpose. Like a lot of cases, there's some houses that have been sitting on the market for a couple of weeks and they haven't had offers yet. So, this is actually a perfect time to buy.
Yeah. And I always find it really interesting when sellers, put their house on the market and they're expecting all of those offers to come through, and they do get, a couple of offers, maybe 2, 3, 4, and they get discouraged because they wanted to get more. And I'm just curious because, you can't sell your house to 4 different people. You're selling it to one person. So if you get one really great offer, what does it matter how many offers you got? Yeah.
And nobody knows the difference.
Nobody knows the difference.
All you need is one offer, and then you're good.
Yeah.
So, it's a different kind of market now.
Yeah.
It's not the same market that we've had over the last, 4 years or 5 years. It's a different kind of market where, the rates are slightly higher still. But there's still some fantastic deals out there, and it's not 100 people knocking down your door to buy your house.
Yeah.
So you can still sell.
But you know what? You don't need 100 people knocking down your door. You need one really great offer.
Exactly.
You need one really great buyer to come knock down your door.
Yeah, and as a seller, and this is kind of a misconception for people too, like, oh, maybe it's not a good time to sell. But that's a perfect misconception that you do just need one buyer.
Yeah.
And it's all about the strategy to get that one buyer.
Yeah. Well, speaking of time, timing your sale right, the misconception about, oh, it's not a great time to sell, or it is a great time to sell. It doesn't, I don't really go by what time in the market it is. It's if it's the right time for you, that's when you're supposed to sell.
Absolutely. There's people looking. I have a buyer looking right now. I mean, if something came on Christmas Eve, he would have gone in Christmas Eve to look at it. But there's nobody a lot of people aren't putting their house on, but you can put your house on any time.
Yeah.
Honestly, I have my buyer's ready to go. He can close in 3 weeks. So if we find the right house, we're going.
Yeah.
So, it's always a good time to list your house. There's always a benefit no matter what time of year it is.
Yeah, I agree.
So
so when it comes to anybody talking about putting money down, or another misconception, you must have perfect credit to qualify for a mortgage. What do you say is their next step? Who should they talk to?
Well, they should obviously talk with a mortgage professional and get, pre-approved. And, if you're a veteran, I know of a couple of fantastic mortgage brokers that work not just exclusive, but have great, they work with, I know that this one broker, Jessica Celia, that I work with, her husband was in the military. She's very well connected with the military and understands all of the military benefits. And, she can get you pre-approved for various types of VA loans. I have, if you're a first-time buyer and you just want to explore the idea and see where you are, it's worth giving a mortgage broker a call just to see what your financial picture looks like. I had somebody say, oh, I've only been on my job for 18 months. That may not matter.
Yeah, it may not matter.
You should just give a call to a mortgage broker and see what they have to say.
Yeah.
You just never know.
Yeah, you really just never know. And I remember going into my conversation with Jasmine, so Jasmine Glasgow from Maritime Mortgage, and just saying, this is just a conversation. I just want to know where I'm at, if I'm on the right path. And by the end of it, she said, you've been on the path. You're at the end. You're ready. Yeah. I'm like, oh. But I wouldn't have known that, even being in the business. I wouldn't even have known that unless I had that conversation with her. So
Jasmine's one of the hardest working mortgage brokers in the business.
Yeah, seriously.
Alongside Jessica. they're like, she's amazing.
Yeah, they both are amazing. So like I said, you just never know until you have that conversation. And it's the same thing when it comes to, a buyer's agent.
Yeah.
You never know what's really out there because, these third-party sites, they don't really always have the most accurate information. So I always say, if you want the most accurate information in real time, you need to hook up with a buyer's agent, and they will set you up an MLS, and you'll get the information as it gets inputted.
Absolutely.
And it's not dragged to the other third-party sites, and it's lost in translation. It doesn't really have, the correct information. So yeah, I mean, hook up with a mortgage broker and a buyer's agent, and that's your team. That's your team for life.
Absolutely. And they have, usually if you get with a good buyer's agent or mortgage broker, they have a team of people. They work with attorneys, home inspectors, and just people who you can count on, like a list of people that you can count on to help you through the process. So it's important to do that, to get a good team of people together.
Yeah.
So,
misconception: renting is throwing away money.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's all. Sometimes you want to. Maybe you've only been at your job for a year, or maybe the type of home you want is going to cost a little bit more, and first lesson security isn't enough. It's not necessarily throwing away money. There's a lot of examples where renting is the smart choice.
Yeah.
You just do it for a little while and save your money.
Yeah.
And repair your credit. And, sometimes people don't have credit, like you're younger and you don't have a lot of credit.
The credit.
And you want to build your credit up. And so you put some utility bills in your name, and you can prove that you've been, paying your bills on time for, and you don't have any lates. And sometimes that's a smart way to do it.
I think a scenario where it's financially beneficial probably to rent is, and we've seen this a lot in the past couple of years, is somebody puts their house on the market and they can't find something to purchase, but they get something that just sort of blows them out of the water, and they have to take it. Like it's such a great offer that it would be a shame to let that go.
Yeah.
So, they weigh their options. Okay, we can't find anything right now, but, let's find a rental for a year, and because they don't want to give up that great offer that a buyer put in for them.
Absolutely. Or the other idea is you sell your house, you don't have that down payment money, and you want to look better to sellers, so you sell your place first.
Yeah.
You rent for a little while, and then you wait for the right opportunity. That way, you're not desperate for a place.
Yeah.
If you can find sort of a month-to-month rental and take your time, and then you have all of the proceeds from the sale of your home to put down on your next home, you look like a much stronger buyer to any potential sellers.
Yeah.
So.
And you can go back to the first misconception that we talked about and putting 20% down.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was a good point. So having more money to put down and being in a better position, so you're able to drop that home sale contingency.
Yes.
So it's one less contingency that you'd put in your offer, which, makes your offer look better.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So when you do find that dream home, you're the top buyer, you know? So that's usually, for people who are sort of stepping up, maybe they need more space or whatever. Not necessarily a first-time buyer, obviously.
Yeah. This one comes before I had a segment of like resale homes and new construction. So resale homes are always cheaper. What do you think about that?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, not necessarily.
Yeah.
I would say you have to consider the maintenance costs and any renovations that you might need to do, anything that you might need. So like efficiency. So like anything that you might have to sort of bring up to code or bring up to a higher efficiency level for a resale home that a lot of the new construction homes they have to be built a certain way. Now there are codes that a home needs to be built to that weren't necessarily the code 100 years ago when a resale home was built. So that doesn't mean that they're cheaper.
You buy a 20-year-old home, you might be able to purchase it for less. However, you're going in thinking, okay, well, I'm going to have to put on a new roof soon.
Yeah.
It's time to update maybe, the plumbing or the heating system or the hot water tank or, things like that. There's a lot of little things in the house that you have to consider. And that's why also a home inspection is really important when you're buying a resale. It's important when you buy new construction too, but when you're buying a resale home, there are, especially a 20 or 30-year-old home, you want to check the age of all of these things, and a home inspector will know how to do that. So,
right.
But yeah, so it's not always cheaper because you might have to fix a lot of things after you own the home.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there selling like as is. They don't want to fix things.
Yeah, they don't want to fix
They price it according to the condition of the home.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of important.
Well, it's funny because I did show a property to a couple, and they asked me, they said, "Oh, is this being sold as is?" The sellers had already moved out, so it was a vacant home. And I said, "Well, it doesn't say that it is, but is there something in particular that you're asking about? Like, now that we're walking around, what is it that you're thinking about potentially asking them?"
Yeah.
And we sort of went through that, and you could tell that there's some water damage and stuff like that. And I said, well, we can certainly get information about the roof, about the skylights. So you could tell that there was some water damage and stuff. But when I'm being told, they can close as soon as possible, like, just throw us an offer.
Right.
I don't know if they're going to be doing anything to it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, they didn't end up moving forward with that, putting in an offer on that one. But yeah, so that was interesting. I wanted to put that in for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hidden costs. So I would say the purchase price is all you pay. Do you think that's a misconception? The purchase price is what you pay.
Yeah, no, that is a misconception. There's definitely other costs associated with.
Yeah. So there's closing costs.
There's closing costs, and both for buyers and sellers, right?
Yeah.
There's you have to pay for your loan, but even if you don't pay for your loan, like even if you're buying in cash, there are closing costs, and you have to pay for your attorney. You have to pay for to have the recording fees and so forth. So there's always some sort of a cost associated with buying or selling, no matter what. But you can roll it into. There are ways to roll it into your loan if you're purchasing. So but and then sellers can take the cost out of the proceeds at closing. So,
yeah, I would say closing costs, property taxes, homeowners insurance,
yes,
and even maintenance expenses are sort of costs that you aren't associated with the purchase price.
Absolutely.
So can you sort of go through the closing disclosure and how it breaks down what everybody pays?
Yeah, it actually puts a balance sheet together, basically.
Yeah.
It's a balance sheet, and it puts the seller's costs on one side and the buyer's costs on another, and sort of nets everything out. So on the seller side, you're going to have stamp taxes. People always forget about the stamp taxes.
Yeah.
That's another expense. So for the seller has to pay $4.56 per thousand of the sale price. And sometimes the seller will go ahead and put it on the market, and they'll get whatever the commission is that the listing agent is charging, and then they get to the closing table, and then they're like, "Oh, what is this extra $2,500? Like, where does this come from?" Well, you have to pay taxes to the state of Massachusetts. They always require a stamp tax, so you can't forget that. And so that's listed out. What happens is on the seller side, they list out, stamp taxes, commission, the recording fees. Like there's sort of like a list of expenses.
Finals.
Yeah, the final water, any taxes that were prepaid, you get deducted there, or if there's an oil adjustment.
Payoffs. Yep,
payoff of your mortgage. It's all written on the closing disclosure. On the other side, you have the buyers, and the buyer has all their loan expenses.
Yep.
Then they have to sometimes prepay the taxes,
or
pay back the seller for the taxes.
Trash Anything that was paid ahead of their closing date, they have to give back, correct?
The oil.
Oil.
They have to pay for the oil that's left
propane.
in the tank. Or
Yeah.
the propane, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's all listed on what's called a closing disclosure for both the buyer and seller. And at the closing table, you get this balance sheet that explains everything, it's actually really helpful.
It is really helpful. And then you can see at the bottom, like, cash due to seller or cash due from buyer. The buyer side also has their deposit, so what they put down at their offer and purchase and sales.
Yes.
And their attorney fees and anything like that. So, but it is sort of a balance sheet, and you have to check it. Both sides have to check it and make sure that everything is correct and ready to go. And that's what you sign. You sign that.
Absolutely. It's nice to have it all written out for you at the closing table, and it's good to use. You should pull it up if you're going to do your tax. If you bought a house this year, you're going to need it when you do your taxes. So pull up your closing disclosure that you were given by your closing attorney.
Yeah. I closed on my house in November of last year. So I did submit mine with my all my paperwork to my accountant, but he was like, okay, well, next year will be even more beneficial for you because I at that point I hadn't even made a mortgage payment because my first mortgage payment was in January. So he was like, okay, well, we'll keep this for next year, and then you just submit because you do get a document from your from wherever you have your loan through, and you submit that with
all the interest you paid.
all the interest you paid. So
which is nice.
Yeah, so be sure to.
It's not nice that you pay the interest, but I mean, it's nice when you go to do your taxes because you get a benefit on your taxes.
Yeah. So he was like, yeah, it'll be beneficial once you start making payments.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, yeah. Once that all gets deducted. Yeah. Yes. So, no, the purchase price is not all that you pay. You still have to keep paying for it every single month.
You do have to pay every month. And then you have to consider the other bills that are included. Now you're going to have an electric bill, maybe a gas or an oil bill, or, you're going to have to pay, all the utilities. There's always going to be, there's water and sewer. Now that you're not renting anymore, you have to pay your water and sewer, which is usually included in the rent.
Yeah.
If you're renting somewhere. So there's lots of other stuff you should talk with your buyer's agent about when you're budgeting for your payments.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, you can ask when you're putting an offer in on a house, a lot of my clients will ask the seller first, like, what can you give me like 6 months worth of utility bills? Mm-hmm. It's really helpful to do that because then you can sort of budget in a better way when so you understand the all-in cost.
Yeah.
So,
I found something out. I'm going to tell you off air so not everybody knows our secret when it comes to utility bills. But just remind me.
All right.
I'll have to remind myself because your memory.
Yeah,
we all know.
We all know my memory.
We know your memory.
I have matching memories.
Yeah. You're listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. My name is Melissa Wallace, and I'm joined with Sue Bollinger, who is a full-time realtor here at Boston Connect Real Estate. You can call or text us from the studio or at the studio, 781-837-4900. Again, 781-837-4900. We're live on all social media, so hello, we're waving to you. Dee is watching us. Dee watches us every single Saturday. Hi, Dee.
Good morning, Dee.
Michelle Faye is watching. Hi, Michelle.
Hi,
Kristen.
Michelle.
Charlie Burke is watching. Hi, Charlie.
Hello, Charlie.
Hello. All right, buying a house is always a great investment.
Yeah.
Are there any scenarios where you think that it's not?
Well, if you're only planning to stay for a couple of years, then it might not be a great investment. Mm-hmm. It might be a place to live.
Yeah.
But if you're staying for a couple of years and then the market drops a little, and so back in the day, I had, this is showing how old I am, how long I've been in the business. But I remember having the market had dropped, and I had these buyers who had to sell their home in New York, and they had to pay to sell their home. So they paid something like $25,000 at closing.
What?
To sell their home in New York so that they could move here and buy a home here.
What?
And there was obviously they bought lower here, which was great. And then when they ended up selling again, they made money. But sometimes it's not a good investment if it's, sometimes that's what happens.
I think also it's not a great investment if you can't afford it.
If you can't afford it, it's not a great
it's
investment.
I think it's not a great investment because there was a certain time where keeping up with the Joneses was really important to some people. And unfortunately, a lot of the time it led to not being able to afford your home. Sometimes it led to divorce, separation, not being, having to sell your house and not being able to afford something else because you had so much invested in that. So there was a time where we saw a lot of people sort of keeping up with the Joneses and not being able, buying something, maybe it was new construction or buying a resale that was just out of their budget.
Right. That's always very sad.
Yeah.
That's very sad. And it actually, can be, that's very sad, scary. Yeah, you should always count the cost of owning a home. And again, this goes back to what we were just talking about, know the all-in costs. Figure out how much it's going to cost. Look at the utility bills. You don't want to live for your house.
Yeah.
The house is a place to live, but you don't want to live for it.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point.
Yeah.
For sure.
I would say, if you're not able to still save, I would say that's not a great investment. I mean, being able to afford it and live live your life and be able to save for retirement and or even save for another property, I would say that it's not a great investment then.
But also it's like, going back to that example from years and years ago, but you need a place to live. If you need a place to live and you can afford it, it's not necessarily an investment, it's just a place to live. And if you're only living there for 2 years, it's a place to live. It's almost like you're renting, but not really if you're planning to. So I always tell people, you need to look at your goals. If you're planning to stay in the house for 5 or 10 years, then it's an excellent investment. But if you're only staying for 2 years, then you have to look at whether or not you're going to make any money on this house and go into it with realistic goals. So, for example, I had a client this year that she really wanted this house, and so she overpaid. And I had to tell her, the market value is about $30,000 less
than what you're paying.
Than what you're paying now. But her goal is to stay in this house for the next 5 or 10 years. So for her, it made sense. And there was nothing else on the market. So she went and overpaid for the house, knowing she was overpaying for the house. It's still a good investment because she's going to be there for 5 to 10 years. But if she was going to have to sell in 2 years, that's not a good investment.
It's not a good investment. So, I would say that if you don't become desperate, and it's easier said than done, and don't become discouraged. And I say this all the time on the show is, stay in the game, because if you're not in the game, you're not playing, and you can't win. So, continue to keep looking, even if you're renting or if you have a house that you haven't put on the market, or if you're living with family, friends, anything, just continue to look. Don't ever give up. If your goal is homeownership, it will happen when it's supposed to happen. And just don't give up, and don't give what you don't have. So again, this woman, your buyer, she had the ability to purchase a home that was, $30,000 more than what the market value was, because she is going to stay there for quite some time. Not everybody has that. And I would say that if you don't have it, don't offer it.
Right. Absolutely.
And it sort of goes into this next one, which is homeownership equals stability. Well, sometimes it doesn't.
That's very true. We just described it.
So I would say flexibility of renting, and you have to consider your lifestyle. And sort of where you're at in your life, and how renting might be the way to go for you. And that's okay. It is okay. People talk about, the American dream is to own a home. Well, sometimes people don't have that dream, and that's okay.
Right. That's true. You don't need to own a home to, lots of rentals out there right now, although right now the rental price is pretty high too.
Yeah.
So, but you can, there's ways, I actually think that home ownership, if you're able to do it, is a good thing, rather than renting, because it is a better investment overall. But even though there are instances where renting is a good idea, I think overall, if you can buy as opposed to rent, you're better off. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
we know we're a real estate show, so we always want you to buy. But
we want you to buy.
But if it doesn't make sense for you, we will help you find a rental.
Absolutely, absolutely,
absolutely. Okay, another misconception. Let's go through these. All resale homes are fixer-uppers. What do you say to that?
Well, I've seen some pretty nice resale homes that were move-in ready.
Yeah. No, not all resale homes are fixer-uppers. Come on.
So you get a 30-year-old home and the homeowners just put on a new roof, new windows, updated the kitchen, updated the bathrooms, updated the heating system. You know, that's not a fixer-upper.
It's not. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have pride of ownership and they take care of their homes and they're well maintained. So,
absolutely.
No, it's not a fixer-upper. Are there some not so great houses out there? Absolutely.
Right.
It comes with the territory. But no, if somebody had pride of ownership or just simply took care of their house the way it was supposed to,
absolutely,
it's not a fixer-upper. It might need some cosmetic updates. Like my house needs cosmetic updates, but it works.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. There's a big difference. So, you know, I would say like more than half of the sellers that I work with do regular maintenance on their home as they live in it. So, you know, something breaks, they fix it. Something, you know, like, you know, they're proactive. You know, oh, I think I'm going to need a new hot water heater, you know, in the near future. They'll fix it before it bursts. You know, they'll update it as they go. They'll, you know, and if you're doing stuff like that and you're doing regular maintenance and pumping your septic system regularly and, you know, that kind of thing, then it's not necessarily a fixer-upper. It's a house that's well maintained.
Speaking of pumping septic systems, it's funny because Christmas Eve, I went and I got Ethan and I coffees, and driving there, I saw at least 3 people getting their septic system pumped on Christmas Eve.
On Christmas Eve?
Yeah, isn't that weird? So the people sort of diagonally from me, there was a big truck there. We couldn't see what it was. They have a fence. They have a large fence.
Merry Christmas, honey.
Merry
We're getting
Christmas.
your septic pumped.
Ethan was like, oh, it kind of smells out here. I was like, well, I think... I was like, they're probably having their septic system pumped. He's like,
they're all getting ready for the crap coming on Christmas Day.
Yeah, seriously.
But I'm bummed. Hey.
So as I was driving by, I did heat the truck pulled out in front of me on my street, and it was a septic pump. They pump septics. So I was like, oh yeah. So and then I saw another person, and then when I got to Dunkin' Donuts, they were having their septic system pumped. I was like, this is so odd. So when I got home, I go, okay, so the people across the street were getting their septic system pumped. That's why it was so loud. The truck was so loud, and it didn't have the greatest smell. And I go, and then I saw another house, and then Dunkin' Donuts was getting it pumped. And he was like, should we drink the coffee? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it's fine.
Yes, the coffee's fine.
Yes,
Dunkin' does not mix their waters.
Yeah, no,
we might need our septic system pumped afterwards, but
exactly.
But yeah, no, we're fine. But how weird, Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve. That is very strange.
Yeah, all 3 on my journey. On my journey, I saw 3.
But they're maintaining their
they
homes.
They're
maintaining
proactive.
Their homes.
Yeah,
you know,
and you know what? It sort of put a little fire in me and said, oh, you know what? I have to schedule that too.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I'm collecting names of reputable, you know, because I feel like every year a bunch of places sell out to like a big company or whatever. Like the places that I love, I'm like, okay, I like this company. It's a nice family-owned company.
Yeah.
And then they sell out to the big company. And
when it comes to septic pumping, do they have to be on the list for the town, or is that something that you can just hire anybody to do?
Because
you know how
can hire anybody.
Oh,
to do
okay.
it. Yeah.
Because you know how some
I think they're listed with the town because they do septic installs or whatever in the town. That's what I think.
But
I
pumping,
could be wrong, but
pumping.
Yeah.
If you know
Yeah.
anything about pumping septics, let us know.
Absolutely. We always need good.
That's definitely a show for Sharon because Sharon loves septic systems. She I don't know why. She knows so much about them, different types of systems.
Right.
So I'm sure in the new year we'll be doing a show about septic systems.
That's actually smart. I don't know a lot about septic systems. I mean, I know a little bit, enough. Like I just had a listing that sold and needed a new septic, and I had a great installer. Actually, one of the best I've ever worked with. Was like really, really good.
Oh, good.
So he did a great job on the septic. So, but other than that, I don't really know much.
Hey, well, at least you're honest.
Yeah.
You don't need an inspection if the home looks good. I know you're against this one.
Oh my gosh. I'll say I told this story already at one of the previous shows we did. But this year I had a client who bought a house, and the house was so cute, and the homeowners were the sellers were so nice, and they shared with my clients their home inspection report for when they bought the house 2 years prior.
Mm-hmm.
And they also gave a list of everything they did to fix the house that was on that home inspection list. So they went through, they had a spreadsheet. This was on the home inspection. It needed repair. We fixed this. It was unbelievable. So my clients were like, this is great. Like, they bought the house. They waived the inspection. They thought, well, why bother? Like, they've already fixed all this stuff. And then they were like, okay, well, let's get the chimney, inspected, because that was the only thing that wasn't on the list. So, okay, let's get the chimney inspected because we want to use our chimney and have a fire this winter. And they went and had it inspected, and the company was like, yeah, your chimney is actually falling off of your house. There's a big gap. It's going to cost I don't know, some ridiculous $50,000 or $60,000 number to rebuild your chimney. And they were like, well, what do you mean? They're like, we did tell the previous owner about this problem. They called us, and the previous owner actually knew about it and didn't disclose it. And so
after they were being so nice,
and we thought they're giving us all this information. This is fantastic. And then they found this out.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to always do a
seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Big fail.
Big failure.
So
what ended up happening?
So they called around. They got prices from 3 or 4 different people, and they did have the option. They checked with a lawyer. They did have an option to sue, but they're just not that kind of people. They were like, we'll just fix it. It's fine. It's part of home ownership. And they had the money to fix it, thank God.
Good for them.
That's, if you're a first-time buyer and you don't know anything, can you imagine having that big of a repair?
No.
So you do need, by the way, for those who don't know, you do need to disclose defects, especially
like your chimney's falling off your house.
Like the chimney's falling off your house, especially if the buyer is asking for, if they've ever done a home inspection and what kind of repairs need to be done for the house. You do need to disclose. It's very, very important. You could be sued.
You could be sued.
But anyways, you don't want that to happen. It's just a word to the wise. You really should do a home inspection if possible. Even if it's after the purchase and sale, if you want to waive it and do it after the purchase and sale just so that you know what's wrong with the house.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
So.
You can estimate repair costs just by looking. No.
Next to impossible.
Yeah. Because you just said that that your clients got a couple quotes and they were sort of all over the board.
Yeah.
Started at $60,000 and what ended at 12.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So they ended up paying $12,000. I mean, what's important is that you get multiple quotes. Okay.
Absolutely.
Not just. That's why it is important when you are doing a home inspection that you have a licensed home inspector. They're not going to give you the estimates, but they'll tell you if something is wrong.
Yeah.
And then you have the opportunity to follow up within your contingency, getting people out there to get quotes.
Yes.
If you just have somebody who is a family member or something that comes through and say, hey, not a licensed home inspector, it doesn't really hold enough weight.
Absolutely.
As a licensed home inspector would.
So important.
So hidden costs. There are some hidden costs. We only have a couple minutes left. I want to give you an opportunity to give your contact information out to everybody before we do final thoughts here.
Yes, absolutely. So if you're interested in buying or selling in 2025, I would love to talk to you. My name is Sue Bollinger, Bollinger. 508-317-5729 is my phone number.
Give that phone number one more time.
508-317-5729.
Perfect. You can find all of her contact information and all of our contact information on bostonconnect.com. You can follow us on social media, Boston Connect Real Estate, McNamara Horton Group, and we're live every Saturday, unless I replay a show, which we didn't today, which is, I'm glad we didn't.
Yes.
But we're live every single Saturday at 8 a.m., and Sharon will be back with me next Saturday. I'm not sure what we're talking about, but we're going to be talking something to do with real estate.
Yes.
Final
could be septic systems.
It could be.
Absolutely.
It could be septic
We
systems.
might have just created the topic for you.
I know. And Sharon will love that too. You said that you are working with a buyer, so why don't you sort of say what they're looking for? So maybe something is out there, somebody who's listening, and they have exactly what they're looking for, and
well,
we can connect
they
you.
are looking for a fixer-upper. The only requirement is that it doesn't have like slanted roof line, like a cape.
Mm-hmm.
But a colonial, a raised ranch, he's open to whatever, and he's open to fixer-uppers. Anything really 700 and under.
Wow.
From, he's just looking for the right opportunity. So if you are thinking of selling, give me a call. I'd love to talk to you about it. I have a great buyer. He's ready to go. He can close in 3 weeks if needed.
Yeah. Are you working with any other buyers right now?
Right now, that's the main buyer. We have some people coming up in January, but not currently.
Coming up in the wings.
Yes, coming up.
But yeah, no, we're always looking for new buyers and sellers. So again, you can go to bostonconnect.com, find all of our contact information if you want to get in touch with Sue, or you want to get in touch with any other agents that I have here on the show with me, including Sharon as well and her team.
I just want to say, quick plug, I have a Norwell rental coming on the market.
Talk about that.
If anybody's looking for a 3-bedroom home in Norwell,
wow,
I think it's going to be like, we're still working on the rental amount, but call me if you need a rental in Norwell.
Yeah.
Single family home.
3-bedroom, single family home in Norwell.
Yes.
Rental.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like you don't see that a lot.
I know. And I also potentially have a Hanson, a small condo alternative in Hanson.
Condo alternative.
For a rental.
Oh, very nice.
Yes.
You got a lot going on there. And, I think, what are your sort of predictions, real fast, what are your sort of predictions for next year?
I think it's going to be a busy year.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think so too.
I think that, it's going to we still have a lot of buyers out there looking for homes. So
yeah. Dee says, I'm glad you didn't replay a show. Well, good. Thank you, Dee. Thanks for listening. Our number one listener, too. Oh, and also when I was giving everybody a shout out, my mom texted me and said, my mom is watching, too.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. So when we were talking about VA loans, my cousin and her husband went for a VA loan, too. So that's how they bought their house. So see, you can do it.
It's smart.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sue, for joining me. Merry late Christmas and Happy New Year. Happy early New Year. Happy New Year, Tim. Because I'll
Thank you.
see,
Happy New Year.
I'll see/hear you in the new year next Saturday.
Yes.
And Happy New Year to everyone out there.
Yeah, Happy New Year to everybody. Have a great Saturday. Bye.
Bye.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor.